My friends, there will come a time when you are disrespected. Maybe it's in your workplace, in your family, or even among friends. Someone will say something that stings, something unfair, something meant to provoke a reaction. But today, I want to tell you, stay quiet. Not because you are weak, not because you don't have words to say, but because silence in the face of disrespect is the mark of a person who trusts in something greater than themselves. Look at the life of Jesus. When he was falsely accused, spat upon, and mocked, he did not argue. He did not fight back. He remained silent, for he knew the truth does not need to be defended with words. It proves itself with time. Many times we feel the need to defend our reputation, to respond with anger, to set the record straight. But the Bible reminds us in Exodus 14:14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Your silence is not surrender. It is surrendering the battle to God, knowing he will handle it far better than you ever could. When someone disrespects you, they expect a reaction. They expect you to lose your peace. But when you remain quiet, when you walk away with grace, you show them that your strength does not come from human approval. It comes from the one who knows your worth. Silence in the face of disrespect is often misunderstood. Many people believe that staying quiet when someone insults or belittles them is a sign of weakness, of backing down, or failing to stand up for themselves. However, true strength is not found in how loudly we can argue or how quickly we can strike back with words. Instead, it is found in the ability to remain calm and composed when faced with provocation. Silence is not an act of submission. It is an act of wisdom and self-control. It is the mark of someone who is confident in their worth and refuses to be dragged into pointless disputes. When someone disrespects you, their goal is often to provoke a reaction. They want to see you lose your temper, become flustered, or engage in an argument that only fuels negativity. Responding in anger or frustration gives them exactly what they are looking for. It validates their attack and allows them to dictate your emotion. But when you remain silent, you take control of the situation. You send a powerful message that their words do not have the power to shake you, that your peace is not easily disturbed by someone else's attempt to tear you down. Many of the most respected leaders and thinkers throughout history have understood this principle. They knew that engaging in every battle was not a sign of strength, but rather a waste of valuable time and energy. When Jesus was falsely accused and mocked, he did not argue back. He did not waste his breath trying to convince his accusers of his innocence. Instead, he remained silent, trusting that the truth would prevail in the end. This kind of self-restraint requires deep confidence and faith, qualities that those who react impulsively often lack. Choosing silence does not mean ignoring the offense or pretending that disrespect does not hurt. It is natural to feel the sting of unkind words or unfair treatment, but the difference lies in how you respond to those feelings. A person who reacts impulsively, shouting back or defending themselves aggressively, is allowing their emotions to control them. A person who remains silent, however, is demonstrating mastery over their emotions. They are showing that they are not easily swayed by the negativity of others, that their inner peace is stronger than any external attack. Silence also allows space for reflection and wisdom. When we react in the heat of the moment, we often say things we later regret. Words spoken in anger can escalate a situation, turning a small slight into a full-blown conflict. But when we stay quiet, we give ourselves time to process what has been said and to respond, if necessary, in a way that aligns with our values and long-term goals. Silence is not about avoiding confrontation altogether. It is about choosing the right battles and handling them with grace. There is also an element of dignity in silence. A person who refuses to engage in petty arguments or respond to insults with the same energy is someone who carries themselves with dignity. They understand that not every attack requires a defense, and not every insult needs a reply. This kind of quiet confidence earns respect, even from those who may have initially tried to provoke a reaction. When you refuse to stoop to the level of those who disrespect you, you rise above them. You show them and yourself that your worth is not determined by their words, but by how you choose to carry yourself. Furthermore, silence forces the other person to sit with their words. When someone insults you and you respond with anger, they feel justified in their attack. But when you remain silent, they are left to reflect on their own behavior. Many times, people lash out in disrespect, not because they truly believe what they are saying, but because they are seeking attention, validation, or control. When you do not give them the reaction they seek, they are left to deal with their own negativity. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their own actions back at them. In professional and personal relationships, silence can be an even more powerful tool. In the workplace, for example, there will always be people who try to undermine others, spread negativity, or provoke conflict. Those who respond to every insult or criticism with defensiveness risk damaging their reputation. But those who remain calm and composed, addressing issues only when necessary and ignoring petty attacks, earn the respect of their peers. They are seen as mature, level-headed individuals who do not allow themselves to be easily swayed by office politics or drama. The same applies in personal relationships. Arguments and disagreements are inevitable, but not every harsh word needs a response. Sometimes the best way to handle a situation is to let silence speak for itself. This does not mean suppressing feelings or avoiding important conversations, but rather choosing when and how to engage. Silence can de-escalate conflicts, prevent unnecessary tension, and allow both parties to process their emotions before engaging in a more meaningful and productive discussion. Ultimately, silence is a tool of the strong, not the weak. It takes immense discipline to hold one's tongue when disrespected, to resist the urge to react impulsively, and to trust that not every battle needs to be fought with words. Strength is not always about speaking up. It is also about knowing when to stay silent. A person who can master the art of silence in the face of disrespect is someone who commands respect without demanding it. When faced with disrespect or unfair treatment, the natural human instinct is to react, to defend ourselves, to set the record straight, to make sure others see the truth. However, one of the most powerful lessons we can learn is to trust God as our defender. Instead of reacting impulsively or seeking immediate justice, we must remember that God sees everything. He knows our hearts, our struggles, and the wrongs done to us. His justice is perfect, and He handles situations far better than we ever could. When we allow God to be our defender, we step out of the way and let Him work in His timing and His way. It can be difficult to remain still when we feel mistreated. The world teaches us to fight back, to demand fairness, and to make sure no one takes advantage of us. But Scripture reminds us in Exodus 14:14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This is not a call to weakness or passivity, but a call to trust. It takes strength to remain calm when falsely accused. It takes faith to hold your peace when others misunderstand you. But when we choose not to retaliate, we give God room to work. He sees the full picture while we only see a small part. Throughout the Bible, we see examples of people who allowed God to be their defender instead of taking matters into their own hands. One of the greatest examples is David. Before he became king, David was pursued by King Saul, who was jealous of him and wanted to kill him. David had multiple opportunities to strike back, to fight for his life by taking Saul's, but he chose not to. He trusted that God would handle the situation. In the end, Saul's downfall happened not by David's hand, but by God's plan. David's patience and trust in God's justice led to his rightful place as king. Had he taken revenge on Saul himself, he might have compromised his future. Likewise, when we try to defend ourselves at all costs, we risk acting out of frustration and clouding our judgment. Sometimes we do not need to prove anything to anyone because God will reveal the truth in His own way. There are times when remaining silent and trusting in God's timing is the best response to false accusations and disrespect. When Jesus stood before His accusers, He did not argue or fight back. He knew the truth did not need defending because God had already determined the outcome. The same is true for us. When we trust God, we do not need to panic about what others say or do against us. God's justice is not always immediate, and that can be one of the hardest things for us to accept. We may want to see wrongs corrected right away, but His ways are higher than our ways, and His timing is perfect. Sometimes the reason God allows certain injustices to continue for a season is because He is working on something greater. There are lessons to be learned, patience to be developed, and character to be strengthened. When we resist the urge to take revenge or defend ourselves unnecessarily, we grow spiritually. We develop trust in God's wisdom and learn to rely on Him rather than our own understanding. Letting God be our defender also brings us peace. When we feel the need to fight every battle on our own, we carry unnecessary burdens. We stay up at night replaying conversations, thinking about how we should have responded or what we should have done differently. But when we surrender those worries to God, we free ourselves from the weight of trying to control everything. We can rest, knowing that God sees our struggles and will act on our behalf. He is a God of justice, and nothing escapes His sight. Even when it seems like the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer, we must remember that God is always at work behind the scenes. Choosing to let God defend us also sets us apart. The world expects people to lash out, to seek revenge, and to fight for their own justice. But when we respond with patience and faith instead, we show that we belong to a different kingdom. Our response to mistreatment can be a testimony to others. When people see that we do not crumble under pressure, that we do not retaliate in anger, and that we remain steady in our trust in God, they notice something different about us. Our faith speaks louder than any argument we could ever make. God's justice is also more complete than any justice we could seek on our own. Sometimes what we think is fair is limited by our own perspective. We might desire a quick resolution, but God is working on something much greater. He may be using the situation to shape us, to humble our enemies, or even to position us for something better. What seems like an injustice now may later be revealed as part of God's divine plan for our good. There will be moments when we feel the urge to defend ourselves, to make sure everyone knows our side of the story, but we must remember that God's defense is stronger than anything we can do on our own. He does not need our help to set things right. Our role is to walk in faith, to hold our peace, and to trust that He will take care of the rest. When we step back and let God fight for us, we are no longer bound by the need to prove ourselves. We walk in freedom, knowing that our defender never fails. When faced with disrespect, the immediate temptation is to retaliate. It feels natural to want to defend our dignity by responding with the same energy we were given. But retaliation does not lift us up. It pulls us down to the level of the one who wronged us. Rising above the situation means refusing to let someone else's negativity dictate our actions. It means choosing dignity over reaction, wisdom over impulse, and self-control over the fleeting satisfaction of revenge. The ability to maintain grace under pressure is a reflection of true strength, and it sets apart those who are guided by purpose rather than emotion. People often believe that fighting back is a sign of strength, but in reality, it often exposes weakness. It shows that we have allowed another person's words or actions to control our behavior. When someone insults us, disrespects us, or treats us unfairly, they are inviting us into a battle that serves no real purpose. By choosing not to engage, we refuse to play their game. Instead of lowering ourselves to their level, we demonstrate a higher standard, one that values dignity over drama. There is great wisdom in restraint. When we react impulsively, we often say or do things we later regret. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back, and actions done out of frustration can have lasting consequences. But when we take a step back and choose not to respond in the same way we were treated, we gain control over the situation. We prove that we are not easily shaken, that our self-worth is not determined by someone else's opinion or behavior. Strength is not found in how loud we can argue or how quick we can strike back, but in the ability to remain composed when provoked. Rising above does not mean allowing others to walk all over us. It does not mean ignoring injustice or pretending that disrespect is acceptable. Rather, it means choosing a higher way of handling conflict, one that does not involve bitterness, resentment, or retaliation. When we react to disrespect with grace, we take power away from those who seek to harm us. We show them that their words and actions have no hold over us, that our peace cannot be stolen by their negativity. This is the mark of true confidence. A person who knows their worth does not feel the need to prove it through arguments or revenge. Throughout history, some of the most influential figures have demonstrated this principle. They understood that engaging in petty battles only distracted from their greater purpose. Leaders, visionaries, and peacemakers have all been tested by insults, criticism, and opposition, yet they chose to rise above rather than sink into conflict. Their ability to maintain their dignity, even in the face of hostility, set them apart and made their influence even greater. Those who are easily provoked become consumed by the very negativity they seek to fight against, but those who remain steady become unshakable. Every time we choose to rise above, we grow stronger. We train ourselves to respond with wisdom rather than emotion, and we build a reputation of integrity. People notice when someone refuses to be drawn into petty disputes. They admire the person who remains calm in the face of insult, who does not seek revenge but instead moves forward with confidence. This kind of self-control earns respect, even from those who may have once sought to tear us down. Additionally, refusing to retaliate protects our own inner peace. When we allow ourselves to be consumed by anger or bitterness, we carry that weight with us. It affects our mood, our relationships, and even our well-being. But when we let go of the need to fight back, we free ourselves from that burden. We no longer allow someone else's negativity to live rent-free in our minds. Instead, we shift our focus to things that truly matter: our purpose, our growth, and our peace. It takes great discipline to walk away from a battle that our pride wants us to fight. It takes wisdom to understand that not every argument needs to be won, and not every insult deserves a response. True power lies in knowing when to engage and when to rise above. The moments when we are tempted to retaliate are often the moments when we have the greatest opportunity to demonstrate character. People will forget the words spoken in a heated exchange, but they will always remember the way someone carried themselves in a moment of adversity. Retaliation may feel satisfying in the moment, but it rarely leads to anything good in the long run. It often escalates conflict, damages relationships, and takes us further away from the person we are striving to become. Those who rise above set themselves apart, not because they are weak, but because they are wise. They understand that their energy is better spent on things that build them up, rather than on battles that only drag them down. There is strength in walking away, in choosing peace over pride, in letting dignity speak louder than words ever could. Silence is often misunderstood. Many see it as a lack of power, a failure to respond, or an inability to defend oneself. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful responses a person can give. It carries a weight that words often cannot. When faced with disrespect, provocation, or unfair treatment, choosing not to react can speak louder than any argument. Silence is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength, self-control, and wisdom. Sometimes the loudest response is no response at all. When a person expects an argument or an emotional reaction, silence can be disarming. People who lash out or disrespect others often do so to provoke a response. They want to see anger, frustration, or hurt because it gives them a sense of control. But when their words are met with quiet confidence instead of retaliation, they are left to deal with their own actions. Silence creates a space where the other person is forced to reflect. Without a defensive reaction to feed into, they may begin to question their own behavior, realizing that their words had no effect or that their actions were unnecessary. Silence is also a form of restraint that requires immense self-discipline. When someone is treated unfairly, the immediate urge is to defend, explain, or retaliate. However, responding impulsively can often make things worse. Words spoken in anger or frustration cannot be taken back. Silence, on the other hand, protects one's integrity. It allows a person to maintain dignity without getting caught in a cycle of negativity. There is strength in knowing that not every comment needs a reply, and not every insult deserves acknowledgement. In situations of conflict, silence can shift the power dynamic. Those who speak carelessly often expect to be challenged or confronted. But when they are met with silence, the energy of the conflict changes. It is no longer a battle of words, but a moment of introspection. The person who remains silent maintains control, refusing to be drawn into an argument that serves no real purpose. This can be especially powerful in professional and personal relationships where unnecessary conflict can damage long-term interactions. A well-placed silence can de-escalate tension, allowing emotions to settle before meaningful dialogue can take place. Silence also allows the truth to reveal itself over time. When someone spreads falsehoods or misjudges a situation, the temptation is to immediately correct them. But defending oneself against every misperception can be exhausting and often unnecessary. The truth has a way of coming to light on its own. Many times those who speak falsely will expose their own inconsistencies, and those who judge too quickly will later see their mistake. By choosing silence instead of instant defense, one places trust in the fact that time will often prove what is right. Beyond handling conflict, silence is also a tool for personal growth. It teaches patience and the ability to listen. When a person is not constantly reacting, they have the opportunity to observe, reflect, and gain deeper understanding. Many conflicts escalate simply because people are too focused on responding rather than truly hearing one another. But silence allows space for wisdom. It makes room for careful thought rather than impulsive reaction. It fosters an environment where words, when they are finally spoken, carry more meaning because they have been chosen carefully. In relationships, silence can be a powerful way to set boundaries. Not every action or statement deserves engagement. Sometimes the healthiest response to negativity is to simply walk away or remain quiet. This is not avoidance, but an intentional choice to protect one's peace. Engaging in every battle drains energy and takes attention away from more meaningful pursuits. By choosing silence, one signals that they will not be drawn into negativity or manipulated by emotional reactions. There is also wisdom in recognizing when words will not change a situation. Some people are not interested in listening, understanding, or finding resolution. They only seek to argue, control, or cause harm. In these cases, silence can be the most effective way to remove oneself from a destructive cycle. It is a statement that says, I will not waste my energy on something that does not serve a purpose. Silence can be a firm and unwavering stand, a quiet refusal to participate in negativity. In moments of deep disrespect or betrayal, silence can carry the most powerful message of all. When someone has wronged another and expects an argument, a reaction, or a plea, the absence of words can speak volumes. It communicates that the situation does not deserve engagement, that the person on the receiving end refuses to be reduced to the same level. Silence in these moments is not just an absence of speech, but an assertion of self-respect. It shows that dignity does not require defense and that some things are beneath response. A person who understands the power of graceful silence does not need to prove themselves in every situation. They recognize that words can sometimes diminish their position rather than strengthen it. They know that true power is in restraint, in choosing when to speak and when to remain quiet. The impact of silence is often greater than anything that could be said in the heat of the moment. It forces others to confront their own behavior, it protects one's own peace, and it demonstrates a confidence that cannot be shaken by mere words. When striving toward a higher purpose, there will always be distractions, challenges, and unfortunately, people who seek to bring you down. Whether through criticism, insults, or outright opposition, negativity often finds its way into the path of those who are called to something greater. The key to fulfilling one's purpose is learning to rise above these distractions and keeping focus on the calling rather than the noise. Petty insults are not a reflection of one's true identity or destiny. They are simply attempts to divert attention from the greater mission at hand. When someone tries to tear another person down with their words, it often has little to do with the person being attacked and more to do with the insecurity, jealousy, or bitterness of the one speaking. People who insult, mock, or criticize without reason often do so because they feel threatened by another's potential. They see someone rising, moving forward, and pursuing something meaningful, and rather than being inspired, they attempt to drag that person down to their level. It is a common tactic of those who are stagnant in their own lives. They seek to discourage those who are growing and progressing. If every insult or negative comment were given attention, progress would slow down significantly. Energy that should be spent on purpose and growth would be wasted on defending against meaningless attacks. Successful people, those who truly fulfill their calling, understand that they do not have time to stop and address every voice of negativity. Their focus is too valuable to be spent on words that hold no weight in the grand scheme of their journey. They understand that no one ever reached greatness by entertaining petty distractions. Throughout history, those who accomplished great things faced opposition and criticism. Every leader, visionary, and pioneer has had people doubt them, ridicule them, or try to discourage them. The difference between those who succeed and those who falter is the ability to stay focused despite the noise. If they had let the words of doubters and critics define them, they would never have reached their full potential. Instead, they pressed forward, undeterred by the opinions of those who could not see the vision set before them. Jesus himself was no stranger to insults and opposition. Despite performing miracles, healing the sick, and teaching with wisdom beyond human understanding, he was mocked, rejected, and falsely accused. Yet he never allowed the insults of others to distract him from his purpose. He did not spend time arguing with his critics or defending himself against those who misunderstood him. Instead, he remained focused on the mission given to him by God. His example is a powerful reminder that fulfilling one's calling requires the discipline to ignore unnecessary distractions. There is great power in choosing not to engage with negativity. It sends a clear message that a person's worth and purpose are not determined by the opinions of others. When someone refuses to respond to insults, it shows strength, confidence, and a deep understanding of their value. Engaging in petty arguments does not elevate a person. It lowers them to a place they were never meant to be. Not every battle is worth fighting, especially when the battle does not contribute to one's purpose. Those who throw insults often hope to get a reaction. They want to see frustration, anger, or insecurity. They want to feel as though they have control over someone else's emotions. But when their words are met with silence or indifference, they lose that power. They are forced to face the reality that their negativity has no effect. This in itself is a victory. True strength is not in matching negativity with more negativity, but in refusing to be moved by it. It is also important to remember that people who insult and criticize from a place of malice are often not in a position to judge. Their words come from a place of limitation, not wisdom. If they truly understood the vision and purpose God had for someone, they would encourage rather than tear down. Their insults are often a reflection of where they are in life, not where the person they are attacking is going. Giving too much weight to the words of those who lack vision can lead to unnecessary doubt and discouragement. The best response is to stay focused and let success be the answer to negativity. God does not call his people to argue with those who do not see the vision. He calls them to walk forward in faith, trusting that his plan is greater than any opposition they may face. If he has set a path before someone, no insult, no critic, and no amount of negativity can stop what he has ordained. The only thing that can derail a person's journey is their own decision to be distracted. Staying focused means refusing to give unnecessary attention to things that do not align with the greater mission. Every moment spent dwelling on an insult is a moment taken away from progress. Every time energy is used to defend against meaningless words, that energy is being diverted from the work that truly matters. A person who is serious about their purpose understands that not all battles are worth fighting, and not all voices deserve an audience. Some things are better left unanswered, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. The higher the calling, the greater the opposition. This is a truth seen time and time again. But those who remain steadfast, keeping their eyes on what truly matters, will always rise above. People may speak against them, but their words hold no power over the destiny God has already set in motion. The best response to insults is not retaliation, it is perseverance. It is continuing to move forward with determination, knowing that the purpose ahead is far more important than any distraction along the way. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember, you do not need to attend every argument you are invited to. You do not need to waste your energy on those who try to bring you down. Stay quiet, keep your peace, and let God do the talking. Amen.